Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another series slash comedy review. And today's series slash comedy review is none other than Cloud9. Now, what is Cloud9 about, you may be asking? Well, it's about a bunch of employees, their manager, and their store. A store which becomes their home in a sense of speaking. Jonah, a disgraced lawyer. Garrett, a guy who still lives at home but has big dreams and aspirations to be one of the world's greatest comedians. Dina, an overly open and blunt woman who loves her birds. Not talking about women here, talking about literal birds in cages. Amy, a Latino woman who goes from being just another supervisor to becoming a manager of the store. Glenn, the original manager, who pretty much is a little bit behind the times, but is always learning how to correct himself and learning to make himself available to his staff and their needs. And most importantly, he's a guy who only ended up working in the store because of the fact that his original family's business was taken away by the corporate company. Mateo, a Filipino who was accidentally illegally in America, gets taken away by ICE and has to fight for his right to remain in the United States. Cheyenne, a young teenager with a bright future ahead of her, and a family that she's about to raise alongside her fellow colleagues. Her boyfriend, Bo Thompson, the rap legend who's gonna spit those lyrics. Sorry, that was a little bit cringe, but you get the gist. So, what is the story arc about? Well, essentially, it all starts with Jonah working at the store. He's just been disgraced from his lawyer career and pretty much wants a new start and wants to start somewhere new. Jonah has many messy relationships between the staff in the store and a new colleague named Kelly. Jonah accidentally ends up breaking Kelly's heart, but eventually goes out with Amy because he always liked Amy. However, Jonah has one major problem when it comes to Amy in the beginning, which is Amy already has a life built for herself. She has people who rely on her, and most importantly, she has a daughter who looks up to her. We have the questionable character Brett, who's a bit of a gangster and somehow manages to go missing in the middle of a hurricane. We have Myrtle, one of the oldest employees of Cloud9 Superstore, who sadly passes away at some point in the store. We have Sandra, who is constantly being picked on by Dina, but she doesn't let it get her down. And over this period of the story, she begins to pretty much lift herself out of the shadows. Marcus, who pretty much runs all the lads in this warehouse, and after complicated situations with Jonah, pretty much starts to become one of his homeboys. But that's enough about the characters. Let's get back to what I was saying about the story. So essentially, Jonah grows this relationship with all the members of the staff, has complicated relationship with a lot of the women in his life. But as the story progresses, he starts to push and motivate the store to be better. A lot of the people before Jonah came along pretty much accepted their life to be crap and didn't believe that they deserved anything better. But eventually, after his relationship with Amy and a lot of other things progressing, Jonah manages to convince her that maybe he might have given up his dream of being a lawyer, but that doesn't mean that she should give up her dream of becoming a manager. Now, her manager, Glenn, of course, is very supportive of this and has always been quite depressed at the idea that Amy has never come to him sooner in hopes to become a manager. Glenn also does an absolute solid for Cheyenne when Cheyenne gets pregnant, because Cheyenne ends up being giving birth all over the floor, and Glenn goes, "There is no way that you are staying in this store." He uses this as a way to weasel his way around upper management in order to give Cheyenne more time off. He also has a heart-to-heart moment with Matteo when Matteo comes to him and points out the fact that he is worried about being not from America. To which Glenn's response is, I'm a Filipino and you're an American, and we are all the same. And that's great and that's beautiful because we are all the same. Each and every single one of these actors, whether comedic or not, bring their A game in this comedy. Garrett constantly gets on people's toes about the fact that he's in a wheelchair. Jonah constantly has to reinverse himself and assure youngsters that he knows what he's talking about, whilst also convincing his other staff members. The whole store has a very complicated but very civil conversation about whether things are considered cultural appropriation when people are dressing up as people's cultures. Most importantly, everybody in the store sticks together when Matteo gets attacked by ice. Things also become super complicated for Jonah when his relationship with his wife is truly tested. When she becomes part of management, the power slowly starts to tilt to her head, and he has to bring her back down to earth and remind her of what it feels like to be a member of staff and employee for Superstore. Luckily, this all works out in the end, and the pair of them's relationship sticks together. And of course, the most beautiful thing about this is how the family and the group of people who came together and worked in that store never stop helping one another. For that reason, I give Superstore a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next series or comedy or film or anything else review. Good night or good morning, depending on where you are. And have an absolutely smashing day. Goodbye for now.